For 3 decades, the most coveted seat in Hollywood wasn't behind an executive's desk. It was on the couch beside Johnny Carson. He reigned as late-night royalty, watching an endless parade of stars pass through his world. But every once in a while, there were women who stood apart from the rest. They weren't only glamorous, they were magnetic, sharp, and unforgettable. They could disarm Johnny, draw out his genuine admiration, and make even the king of late night seem humbled. Tonight, we're pulling back the curtain on 9 women from Hollywood's golden age who captured Carson's imagination like no others. These aren't the stories you'll find in the tabloids, these are the private fascinations that played out right before our eyes. First on the list, Angie Dickinson, the true equal. Where most guests were challenges, flings, or fantasies, Angie was something else entirely. She wasn't just a Tonight Show regular, she was the reigning queen of Carson's stage, appearing more than anyone else. Johnny's attraction to her went far deeper than glamour. Angie was a perfect counterpart, funny, unflappable, razor-sharp, and endlessly charming. Watching them was like watching 2 dancers move in perfect rhythm. She gave Johnny something rare, comfort. With Angie, he wasn't just the host steering the night, he was simply a man enjoying the company of a dear friend. His respect for her was layered, professional admiration, personal affection, and yes, undeniable attraction. It makes you wonder, who do you think Johnny had the best natural chemistry with on television? Next, Elizabeth Taylor, Hollywood's untouchable royal. If Angie was the effortless partner, Elizabeth was a coronation. Every time she appeared, it was an event. Carson might have been the king of late night, but with Taylor on stage, he was clearly entertaining royalty. She wasn't merely a star, she was living history, carrying decades of iconic films, infamous marriages, and scandals that shaped Hollywood itself. But what made her irresistible was her humor. Taylor could laugh at herself, crack bawdy jokes, and lean into her legend with playful confidence. Johnny often sat back, visibly dazzled, letting her command the spotlight. What he craved wasn't flirtation, it was the sheer honor of hosting the greatest movie star alive. Moments like that weren't just interviews, they were monuments in television history. Then came Greta Garbo, the ghost Johnny could never capture. Every legend has one figure they can't reach, and for Carson, it was Garbo. She never sat on his stage, never broke her self-imposed silence after leaving Hollywood in the 1940s. That absence only made her more alluring. For a host who thrived on getting people to open up, securing Garbo would have been the ultimate triumph. His fascination wasn't about romance. It was about the impossible, the dream of being the one man to coax the Sphinx into speaking again. Her silence, her refusal to play the fame game, made her the ultimate temptress. She became legendary in his mind not through presence, but through absence. Fourth, Lauren Bacall, the ultimate dame. When Bacall appeared, she wasn't there to impress. She had nothing to prove. With her husky voice, sharp wit, and commanding presence, she met Carson not as a starlet, but as an equal. Their exchanges weren't promotional fluff, they were rich conversations, filled with memories of Bogart, old Hollywood, and a time built on grit rather than glamour. Johnny wasn't the teacher in these moments, he was the eager student, captivated by her poise and her intellect. His attraction wasn't about flirtation but about the substance she carried with her. Bacall wasn't playing a part. She was the embodiment of authenticity, and Johnny soaked in every word. Number 5, Dolly Parton, the master of charm. If Bacall impressed through gravitas, Dolly bowled Johnny over with her humor and warmth. She was one of the rare people who could make Carson, the calm and collected host, lose his composure entirely. Their playful back and forth was legendary, but beneath the flirtation, Johnny admired her brilliance. Dolly was a comedy genius, quick to turn jokes about her looks into self-aware punchlines that left Johnny howling. She wasn't just funny, she was in control, turning the spotlight on her own terms. What Johnny craved wasn't just her beauty or humor, but the joy she brought. She could shatter his cool exterior and remind everyone that even the king of late night could be swept away by laughter. Then, Jane Fonda, the challenger. Where most women softened the atmosphere, Jane sharpened it. Her magnetism came from her fire, her intelligence, and her fearlessness. Their conversations were rarely easy. They were tense, exciting duels of wit and conviction. Fonda wasn't afraid to speak her truth, whether about politics, activism, or Hollywood itself, and Carson leaned into the challenge. He admired her courage, even when she rattled him. His fascination with Jane wasn't about charm or sex appeal, it was about the electricity of a real debate, a battle of equals that left the audience on the edge of their seats. Sophia Loren came next, the goddess from abroad. With her, The Tonight Show became more than a talk show. It was a global event. Loren wasn't just beautiful, she carried herself like living art, with the wisdom of a woman who had endured war, poverty, and fame with resilience. Johnny treated her not as a bombshell but as a dignified survivor, someone whose story was bigger than Hollywood. What he craved in her presence was authenticity cloaked in elegance, the rare mix of beauty, strength, and grace that could silence a room. Then, Raquel Welch, the bombshell personified. Her very presence could shake Johnny's famously steady composure. She represented the peak of 1960s and 70s glamour, but she wasn't just an image. Raquel was sharp, witty, and fully aware of her sex symbol status, often playfully teasing Johnny about his obvious admiration. That blend of breathtaking beauty and clever self-awareness fascinated him. She was proof that the image of a bombshell could coexist with intelligence, and Johnny couldn't get enough of it. Finally, Ann-Margret, the fireball. Where others brought class or cool, she brought chaos in the best way possible. Every time she appeared, it was like unleashing lightning in the studio. Wild, free, and unapologetic, Ann-Margret's energy both thrilled and unnerved Carson. She didn't fit into a mold, and that unpredictability made her mesmerizing. Johnny didn't try to control her, he simply watched, amused and enchanted, as she lit up the stage. She reminded him, and everyone watching, that raw authenticity can be the most seductive quality of all. From Angie Dickinson's wit to Ann-Margret's fire, from Elizabeth Taylor's royalty to Garbo's haunting absence, Johnny Carson's world was filled with extraordinary women who captivated him in entirely different ways. They weren't just guests, they were legends who revealed the many faces of female power, intellect, humor, grace, and uncontainable energy. And through Johnny's eyes, we see just how timeless that allure really was.